Hey, welcome to another edition of Kyle Meredith with. It's the interview series presented by WFPK at WFPK.org, Consequence, and the Consequence Podcast Network. Thanks for making your way here. For checking out the series, of course, you know what to do. If you like what you see, what you hear, hit that subscribe button. I put out new interviews just like this one every single week, so it's a great way to keep up with all of your favorite artists. And I could not be more excited to have one of my all-time favorite artists, Devo, are here. Mark, Jerry, hello, guys.
Hello.
Oh,
It's great to have you both on here. There's a lot happening in the Devo world once again. Uh,
Yeah,
you've got a new documentary. Well, I should also say you're also going on tour with B-52s, and we're going to talk about that later on. But this new documentary that just arrives on Netflix.
right.
And first, congratulations. This is such a great watch.
You watched?
I've watched all of it. I've watched all
Okay.
of it, and then I've gone back and referenced little parts of it as well. So
You made it through. Oh, good, good.
Um, it feels like it's been a long time coming. Mark, why is it taking so long to get a Devo documentary?
I don't know. We never entertained it even. We were never thinking about it. We were just always moving forward in life. And then one day somebody brought it up and we mistakenly s- got involved and then moved on to a couple different versions of it. And here we are with Chris Smith.
Jerry, I was looking back. I mean, because I think you've been talking about other things for a long time, like going back and referencing the beginning was the end of the biopic and even the Broadway thing.
Yeah.
It's like, is that all the road to this, or are those, do those live separately, I guess?
Well, I mean, yeah, I can only speak for myself, but there are, what you see is the tip of the iceberg. There were so many things that I kind of was passionate about making happen, and they didn't happen. And this is better late than never. It's a long and winding road. And yeah, you're trying to distill um, a complex artistic experience of 50 years into a 90-minute film. So you're really, what is a documentary? It's a document of what the director decides is the focus of what he is interested in. It's not the ultimate truth. It's just some version of information or truth.
Yeah. Would it be fair to say then that the lens that we see here, I mean, there's that line that Devo is the most misunderstood band in like history. Like that seems to be the version that we get of what we're seeing here.
Not the worst version, but it's always that way. It's like everybody sees something different, which is kind of both good and also gives both Jerry and I have different reasons to go, oh, I wish that was different. But it's always interesting to see someone else's outside view rather than we're both deeply subjective.
Mhm.
And so we do have things that we're passionate about.
But to go with that, with what we got, and I love this story, by the way, because I've always known what Devo was about. I mean, you guys have been talking about that for 50 years. You know how it starts as an art project and then de-evolution, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
But to have a career basically of explaining yourselves, which I think is also what we see here. It's like it feels like it would be mind-numbing to be on your end and just time after time after time is like this is what we were about because you've also got catchy songs, but there was the whole thing that was a part of it.
Well, yeah, we were always trying to explain the substance and, you know, inspiration behind that body of work. And I don't think people were very interested in that. And they rarely printed what we said. And I can understand that. People don't
It's not
really
traditional. Yeah, that's not traditional in rock and roll. It's like rock and roll has two or three very basic dumb ideas, and then people just, default to that. So they weren't all that he's absolutely correct. People did not want to talk about what we wanted to talk about all the time.
yeah. They
Yeah.
just like, tell us about the drugs, tell us about the sex. Let's be honest here. Yeah.
I don't remember that part about the documentary at all either.
Well, it was
Oh, see, there
excised.
you go. That's another version.
It's the sequel. I want that.
Somebody else's documentary of Devo.
This is the, Mr. Rogers friendly neighborhood version.
Yeah. When we get though at the beginning of Kent State and how that influenced you, especially Jerry, and going from, what you were saying is, being a hippie
Yeah.
to eventually, becoming, and I'm using the broad thing here of like post-punk, et cetera, et cetera. I was thinking about, I was talking with Kim Gordon once, Sonic Youth, and
Right.
and she was saying, when I go home, I don't listen to no wave. I don't listen to noise rock. I listen to Fleetwood Mac. And I was thinking about that as I was watching this because hearing you, and knowing like being into Hendrix and things like that. I mean, how that because that's the part again when we're talking about what the director wants to show, it's not exactly explained like how do you go from the hippie rock of the 60s to finding this post-punk sound, especially when you and several other bands at the of the era were creating something that all ended up being something kind of in this umbrella of post-punk.
Was really
Sure.
important to me. It was like I felt like I wanted to be a pioneer. I wanted to create a sound for the 70s at the time is what I was thinking. I was thinking as much as like uh, you know Jimi Hendrix and Captain Beefheart were the sound of the 60s. I thought I wanted to have something that related to our time. Jerry and I were both really influenced by all of the art movements in the 20s and 30s in Europe. And people like the futurists had already were already making proclamations that the modern orchestra does not include instruments that can define or illuminate our society, our culture, our industrial culture, and we were kind of feeling that way with what was happening on TV and what was, we were watching Vietnam on TV mixed in with Anison and Bufferin commercials, and we were, you know, I was Jerry and I both had different things that we did for Devo, but for me, sound was really important, and I was really looking for a way to uh, create something new in the sound world. Jerry was kind of equally interested in video and film at the time, and he uh, he pushed us into making these short movies that we were making back before there was an MTV, and that was great.
Basically, every artist has to start off with influences and things that they revere, and then they have to move on and find out who they are. So you have your influences, and you have your artistic gods, and then you have to realize that now it's up to you to be them, not imitate them.
Hmm. And then in those crazy moments that we see in this film of you meeting those people,
Yeah.
Bowie, of course, always keep him over
Yeah.
my shoulder right there.
The
Um,
Pop, Neil Young. Yeah.
right. Yeah. How was I'm sure this is talked about in the past at some point, but when you do meet Neil Young and knowing that you were at Kent State and everything, like before you met him,
Right.
like did that song did that song do I'm talking about Ohio, obviously.
Yeah.
Like, did it do the justice of the moments?
It wasn't bad. What was really exciting to me and powerful was how quickly back then, with the way the record business worked and pressing vinyl, how quickly that song was out there in the world and on the airwaves. That's like a digital era story, right? They talk about how quickly things can happen now. They don't happen any more quickly than that.
Right.
And that was 1970.
In the U.S., because the U.S. like our music industry was like a big, stupid, lumbering giant.
Yeah.
Where, as opposed in Europe, they had these smaller labels. They had a situation where people did cut a song on Friday and then you'd hear it on the radio on Monday. But in the US, that was never the case. And so, yeah, hearing it that quick of a turnaround was kind of impressive.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I'm sure it was only because of the status of Neil Young at that moment in history.
sure. Like if you're going to put out that song, we've got to do this now.
Yeah.
Speak to that moment. And
Yeah.
what a great moment that was. And
Yeah.
just knowing that that's, not specifically that song, but that it's all a part of your story. That it's so wild, right? When you get to tell these, especially a 50-year story of a band like you all, to be able to look at it in this hour and a half package, it's
Right.
crazy
Yeah.
how many things just play into each other that made the thing that led to the next thing. That's
Yeah. We never thought we'd be meeting Neil Young. So, like 7 years after that song, we're jamming with Neil Young. And nobody would have believed that, including myself, if somebody had said, "Here's what you're going to be doing."
mhm.
Yeah, you look back at it, and it's amazing that we were in a recording studio up in San Francisco, and everybody had on these "Never Mind the Bollock" shirt that we'd gotten from the Sex Pistols like the week before or something like that. And um, he was he was jamming with Devo. It was kind of wild. Boogie Boy was in a playpen playing a synth and singing some song that I don't think he'd even put out yet. But then he's like crunching he smashed Boogie Boy's playpen with his guitar. He kept falling on top of Boogie Boy on purpose. It was
Punk.
kind of non what you would think of for Neil Young, and that was impressive. That kind of really changed my opinion about him, because I kind of I wasn't into the uh, Laurel Canyon, granola
Yeah. We kind of
sound.
made fun of that stuff. And there he was, grandfather of granola rock, completely in the moment and punk.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then we paid attention to his films, which I'd never had a chance to see before, and I realized he had this very kind of avant-garde, interesting. It was like Robert Downey Sr. kind of style of filmmaking that that was kind of cool in a way.
And then you can see the point in his career where you all became his influence, and those
Yeah. Would that
early,
Yeah.
happen? That
yeah.
happened.
The other, and I'll wrap around back to the present here too, because I mentioned you guys were going to be touring with B-52s, who of course comes out of this same scene. And first off, the idea of this tour, thank God it happened. I mean, I was reading about how, meeting up at SNL 50 and all of that stuff, but the cosmic de-evolution, which is a good phrase to put on a tour. Do you like, can it mean something? I want it to mean something in the way that Devo actually means something, I guess.
Yeah. Well, it's putting a sugar coating on de-evolution so that de-evolution isn't depressing. Uh,
Yeah, it gives it a tasty, optimistic side, which is kind of good for us too, because beyond, spending 50 years telling people, sounding like we were just, like crabby and cynical, it's like there is this other side of Devo that is about um, positive mutation, and it's about, like don't just like stagnate, move forward in a positive way in a new time where it really needs it.
Does Lena Lovitch fit into that philosophy?
I don't know. I saw her once at the Whiskey A Go Go in the '80s,
Mhm.
and she has an amazing voice. And I think it fits on in the sense of like what Jerry was saying about it being kind of like putting from our viewpoint, it's putting the candy coating and inflating some helium balloons and stuff for a dour, de-evolution is real, kind of thing. And for them, it's like it's adding art.
Mm.
You got to make the medicine taste good.
I think we complement each other just fine. I think there's not a I don't think it's a bad combination. I think it's complementary.
It's a dream bill, especially for fans of that music. And that's, I don't know, like pre-internet days, et cetera, especially when we're looking back then, when I don't know, how did it feel? I don't want to put words in your mouth. I would have expected it would have felt like, I don't know, an Oasis, not the band, but an Oasis to find another band that sort of subscribed to a similar version of weird that you all did when we talk about mainstream culture.
Yeah, I mean, people decided B-52s were weird, but I'm sure they don't even think they were weird. They were just following a particular vision they had, and they remained true to it, and they did a really good job of it. So that's the similarity with Devo. We each have a thing that we do that's as unique as each other, and we are two people from an era where we're the only bands left that could still get up on stage and do it.
And both calling it farewell, maybe?
Maybe. Takes a long
Well,
time to say goodbye.
we're in an age uh, group where you could say goodbye at any moment. So
Oh,
so we
yeah,
can say farewell if we want, or we can say welfare, or we can say, yeah, next year we got even better ideas. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah.
fairly well.
Yeah, there's you go.
Listen, there's been a
Uh,
lot of bands that's laid the groundwork where farewell, goodbye can still mean 40 years in itself. So,
well, look at it this way. We have only played about 28% of the markets
Mhm.
that want Devo, so it'll take a long time to say goodbye.
If we say goodbye to everybody, yeah.
Thank goodness for us that there's a lot of people out there.
And
And
then by the time we're getting to the very end of it, then there'll be colonies on Mars that we'll have to go up and visit, and it'll start all over again. So
yeah, yeah. Well, in the meantime, I'll be checking out those shows, and I know we have the documentary, and it's so good. And going back to what we were saying at the beginning about it being one person's kind of lens to the story they wanted to tell, because we start seeing the stuff that wasn't told, right? Um, I loved the reunion record, Something for Everybody. We played Fresh a ton here at WFPK, stuff that, smooth noodle maps and all that, which I think is a fantastic record. Like there were parts that I would have went, I wanted to see more of that.
Yeah, I like something for everybody. I really do. I think there are at least four songs on there that are as strong as songs from Freedom of Choice and Oh No, It's Devo.
Hmm.
It's just it didn't matter at that point because the record company failed to bring it to market because they have no juice anymore. I remember we went to their rep at Warner's who said, "Hey guys, would it be okay if I went to radio and presented and pushed for No Place Like Home?" And we were just kind of crestfallen, like he's asking us if that would be all right.
and
Like,
that's wouldn't
why
that what?
wouldn't it be all right? Yeah, that's your job, please.
No, I think you should hide it. Yeah.
Yeah.
But also it was different. It's like when the first time we went over to Warner Brothers in '78, it was like this vibrant and everything was happening in that building. And every Friday at noon, they stopped work and they threw a party in the center opening area and had a lunch party that lasted for the rest of the day. And when we went in there for the last time we were there with this album, it's like some of the big marketing rooms had like My Chemical Romance T-shirts, that the merchandise people had left sitting there till My Chemical Romance went back out on tour, and there were just empty rooms, and it was like the last bastion of people that loved music so much that they were still willing to like work at a record company at that point in time. It was like a lot of people that had like sad like memories of, romantic memories of what it was like in the 70s and 80s and 90s uh, when record stores still existed.
Yeah.
It was different to go back. Yeah.
I love that common area at Warner's outside. The patio is that whole
Yeah.
building was legendary. And now nobody works at the record labels anymore. So that's what we have. That's
Yeah.
we have radio teams. Um, so off track. Let me compliment you guys one more time. The new documentary is fantastic. It's so great to see this story being told in the way it has. It's on Netflix, and everybody should watch it a dozen times, if not more. And I can't wait to see this tour with you all in the B-52s. And I cannot tell you what an honor it is to get to talk to you both. So, Jerry, Mark, thank you so much for taking the time today.
You're
Yeah.
too
Thanks for
kind.
having us on.
And thanks to my guest. Also, thanks to you for checking out the episode in the series. Before you get out of here, hit that subscribe button. Again, you get 3 brand new interviews every single week. New one every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at right here on YouTube, or of course anywhere in podcast land, including iTunes, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Podchaser, NPR, or WFPK.org as well. A great way to keep up with your favorite artists and discover new ones as well. Then after that, actually head over to WFPK.org. That's where I do a show Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern. It's an hour full of song premieres, music news, anniversary spins, bonus interviews, Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern at WFPK.org. Consequence has your music and film news. You can also find me on the social media spots, Facebook, Instagram, mostly on Twitter. All 3 of them, the address is at Kyle Meredith. Do hope you like and follow along. That does it for another edition. I'm Kyle Meredith. I'll see you next time.